Okay, so you've made it. You've hit that C1 level in English.
Which is a huge accomplishment, by the way.
Yeah, seriously. But now what? I mean, you're good, really good, but sometimes it feels like there's this wall between you and sounding like, well, truly exceptional.
Like a native speaker. Yeah, I get it. It's a common feeling at this level.
Totally. So today, we're going to dive deep into some tips and tricks to help you scale that wall, to go from very good to, mind-blowingly good.
Exactly. And we're not going to waste your time with the basics.
Yo.
This deep dive is for the advanced learner, someone who's ready to really dissect the nuances of English and refine their skills.
Right. And the really cool thing is we have this document packed with tips specifically for C1 learners. It's called C1 Level Tips to help improve your English level, and that's going to be our guide today.
It's a fantastic resource, really practical and actionable advice.
Exactly. So our mission today is to pull out the most transformative stuff, the stuff that's really going to help you break through that plateau.
Yeah, make that leap.
And the document covers a lot. Mastering conversation, expanding your vocabulary, fine-tuning your fluency, grammar, reading, writing, even understanding the cultural context. It's a lot.
It is.
But we're going to break it down.
Absolutely.
So I guess the natural place to start is with conversation, right? I mean, you've probably aced all those textbook dialogues by now.
Right. You can probably order a coffee in your sleep at this point.
Probably. But what about those real-life conversations? The ones that are unpredictable and messy.
The kind where you can't just pull out a pre-rehearsed phrase.
Exactly. And the document really emphasizes the importance of practicing for those situations.
Yes. It specifically says practice realistic, spontaneous conversations.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Well, think about situations where you have to think on your feet, like a job interview, and suddenly they hit you with a curveball question.
Or maybe you're in a debate, and you have to formulate your arguments on the spot.
Right. Or even just those everyday social conversations that jump from topic to topic.
Or negotiating something where, every word matters.
Exactly. It's about being able to handle those unexpected twists and turns.
Totally. And the document actually gives a great example of this, a conversation between these two people, Alex and Maria.
They're discussing an ethical dilemma at work.
Which I think we've all encountered at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not a clear-cut black and white issue.
No, it's very much a gray area, as Maria says in the conversation.
Exactly. So Alex is kind of floating this idea of, maybe bending the truth a little bit for the company's benefit.
Which is, always a tricky situation.
Always. And Maria's response is so interesting. She says, "That's a tough call. I believe in transparency, but in competitive markets, some might argue it's strategic rather than deceptive."
It's so nuanced.
So nuanced. It's like she sees both sides of the argument and can express them thoughtfully.
And that's really what we're aiming for here, that ability to navigate complexity.
Right. And it's not just about what they say, it's about the language they use.
Absolutely. The document highlights some fantastic advanced phrases from their conversation.
Yeah, that's a gray area.
Which immediately signals that there's no easy answer.
I see where you're coming from.
Shows you understand the other person's perspective without necessarily agreeing.
And then, of course, the classic, let's agree to disagree.
A great way to move past an impasse diplomatically.
And then there's that empathetic, if I were in your shoes.
It just takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah, showing real consideration.
And it's not about, just memorizing these phrases and dropping them in randomly.
Right.
It's about understanding how they function in conversation, how they help you navigate those subtle social dynamics.
They make you sound less robotic, more human.
Exactly. More like you're actually thinking and reacting in real time.
So how do we get better at this? How do we actually start using this kind of language in our own conversations?
Well, the document has a really practical suggestion. Record yourself responding to different prompts. Think about ethical dilemmas, like the one Alex and Maria discussed, or current events, or even just random social questions. And then listen back.
Critically.
Yes, critically. Ask yourself, where did I hesitate? Where could I have expressed myself more clearly or more subtly? Were there opportunities to use those advanced phrases?
I love that. And there are even tools that can help with this, right?
Yeah, for sure. VoiceThread and SpeakPipe are great options. It's all about getting that objective feedback on your spontaneous speaking.
Awesome. So that's conversation. Moving on, I think vocabulary is another big one at the C1 level.
It is. You probably already have a pretty broad vocabulary at this point.
Yeah, you're not struggling with basic words anymore.
Right. But now it's about depth.
Depth.
Yeah, how well you really understand the nuances of the words you use and how naturally you can integrate them into your speech.
Okay, I'm with you.
And the document is really clear on this. Learn words in context, not just in isolation.
Which means ditching those endless vocabulary lists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can only get you so far. What you need is to understand how words behave in the real world.
Right.
The company they keep.
So, like, what words usually go together?
Exactly. Collocations, like strong coffee, not powerful coffee, or bitter disappointment, not sour disappointment. You know, those little things that native speakers just intuitively know. And then there are idioms, which are like a whole other beast.
Those colorful expressions that don't make sense literally.
Right. Like kick the bucket or spill the beans.
And the document says connotations are also important.
Oh, absolutely. Connotation is the emotional baggage a word carries, you know,
Yeah.
the subtle shades of meaning.
So cheap and inexpensive technically mean the same thing, but
But they have very different feelings associated with them.
totally. And so how do we, like, practically improve our vocabulary in this way?
The document suggests a really cool strategy. Thematic vocabulary clusters.
I like the sound of that.
It's about grouping words together based on a central theme. So instead of having these random words floating around in your head, you create these little mental maps.
Okay.
They give an example of business and innovation with words like disruptive innovation, scalable model, market saturation, profit margin, competitive edge.
I see, yeah. It's like building a vocabulary web around a specific topic.
Precisely. And the key is to not just list the words, but to understand them in action.
So give me an example.
Okay, let's take disruptive innovation. The document defines it as an innovation that significantly alters or creates a new market, and then gives the example of Uber.
Right. Uber totally changed the transportation industry.
It did. So now you're not just memorizing a definition, you're seeing how the word functions in the real world.
Yeah, that makes it way more memorable.
And they do the same thing with scalable. They define it as able to be expanded or increased efficiently, and then use the example, the app is scalable and can handle millions of users without performance issues.
I get it. It's about seeing the word in its natural habitat.
Precisely. And this kind of contextual understanding is what will allow you to not just understand native speakers when they use these words, but also to start using them confidently and naturally yourself.
Awesome. So that's vocabulary. What about fluency?
Fluency. That elusive quality that makes someone sound so effortless and natural.
Yeah, it's like they're just gliding through the language.
And the document gives us a brilliant tip for improving fluency. Imitate native speakers.
Like, just copy them.
Well, more specifically through a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing.
Yeah. Basically, you listen to audio from a native speaker, could be a podcast, a news report, anything,
Yeah.
and you try to repeat it aloud at the same time, or just a split second behind.
Oh, wow. I can see how that would be challenging.
It is, but that's the point. You're not just repeating words, you're trying to mimic their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm, even their pauses.
Intonation, that's the melody of their voice, right?
Exactly. And sentence stress, which is how they emphasize certain words to convey meaning.
Okay, yeah. So are there any, like, specific podcasts or audio sources they recommend?
Oh yeah, they have some great suggestions, all for the advanced learner.
Lay it on me.
Well, for current events, they recommend The Daily from the New York Times.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
It's really high quality. And then for like immersive storytelling, there's Hardcore History.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then Freakonomics, which is all about like these thought-provoking discussions on, well, basically anything.
So, pretty diverse range of topics there.
Yeah, and they're all challenging, but really engaging.
And it's important that they're challenging, right?
Oh, absolutely. You want to be pushing yourself with authentic, unsimplified English.
Makes sense. And the document also talks about focusing on certain aspects of pronunciation.
Yes. Connected speech, intonation, and sentence stress. These are often the final hurdles for advanced learners.
Right.
Connected speech is how we often run words together in natural speech. The classic example is, what do you want to do? Becoming what I want to do.
I do that all the time.
We all do. And being able to recognize and reproduce those connected forms will make a huge difference in your understanding and your own fluency.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then intonation adds so much meaning and emotion to what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like the music of the language.
Exactly. And sentence stress helps you emphasize the most important information.
So what about resources? Are there any tools that can help with pronunciation?
Definitely. Forvo is a great one for hearing words pronounced in different accents.
Oh, that's handy.
And Youglish lets you see and hear words used in context in YouTube videos.
So you can see how they're actually used.
Exactly. And then there are apps like Elsa Speak, which provide personalized feedback on your pronunciation.
Wow, technology is amazing.
It really is. Okay, so we've covered conversation, vocabulary, and fluency.
What's next?
Grammar.
Oh no, not grammar.
I know. But don't worry, it's not about memorizing endless rules. At the C1 level, it's about mastering what the document calls subtle structures. These are the more complex grammatical forms that allow you to express really nuanced meanings.
So we're not talking about basic verb tenses anymore.
No, we're way past that.
Okay, good. So what are some examples of these subtle structures?
Well, a document highlights mixed conditionals.
Which are?
They allow you to talk about hypothetical situations with different time frames. Like what would be happening now if something different had happened in the past.
Okay, I think I get it.
And then there's inversion for emphasis.
Inversion?
Yeah, it's when you change the normal word order to add emphasis to a statement.
Okay.
And then there are cleft sentences.
Cleft sentences. That sounds painful.
Not at all. They're a way of focusing attention on a specific part of a sentence.
Okay.
And finally, nominalization.
Wait, what was that last one?
Nominalization. It's about turning verbs or adjectives into nouns.
To make your writing sound more
Concise and formal, often.
I see.
So the document gives some great examples of all of these.
Oh, good. I like examples.
So for mixed conditionals, they have the sentence, if I had taken the job, I would be living in New York now.
Okay, so it's like combining a past unreal condition with a present result.
Exactly. And it creates this really nuanced meaning.
Yeah, I see that.
And for inversion, they have, never have I seen such an incredible performance.
Wow, that sounds so dramatic.
Right. Putting never at the beginning really emphasizes it.
And for nominalization, they give the example, the decision to postpone the launch surprised everyone.
So instead of saying they decided to postpone, they use the noun decision.
Which is more efficient and sounds more formal.
Exactly. So these subtle structures are all about expanding your expressive range, giving you more tools to convey your ideas with precision and style.
Awesome. So that's grammar. What about reading?
Well, I'm sure you're already reading a lot in English.
Hopefully.
But at the C1 level, it's important to diversify what you're reading. Yeah. Read different types of materials, different styles, different registers. Don't get stuck in a rut.
Okay.
So the document gives a bunch of examples. Academic journals, opinion editorials, fiction, biographies, even legal or business texts.
Wow, that's a lot of variety.
It is, but the point is to expose yourself to different ways of using the language.
I see.
And it's not just about what you read, but how you read it. They have this really helpful advanced reading strategy.
Tell me more.
So, first, skim for the main ideas just to get the gist of what you're reading.
Okay.
Then, if you need more detail, you can scan for specific information.
Right.
And this is important. Highlight and define any new words you encounter.
And make sure to understand them in context.
Exactly. And finally, try to summarize each paragraph in your own words, just to make sure you've really understood it.
It's active reading, not passive.
Exactly. You're really engaging with the text.
Yeah.
And to get you started, they recommend some great books and articles.
Like these.
Well, for one, Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari.
I've heard of that. It's supposed to be really interesting.
It is, and the language is very sophisticated.
Good to know.
And they also recommend articles from The Economist, which are known for their in-depth analysis of current affairs.
Okay, I'll check those out.
And then essays from The New Yorker, which are known for their beautiful writing.
So basically, challenge yourself with high-quality reading material.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on to writing.
Writing, ugh.
I know, it can be tough. But the good news is, at the C1 level, you're past the basics of grammar and structure.
Hopefully.
So now it's about refining your style, making your writing as clear and impactful as possible.
Okay.
And the document's main advice is to edit ruthlessly.
Ruthlessly.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to cut, rewrite, rearrange. Be your own toughest critic.
Okay, I can try.
So they give a few specific techniques for this.
I'm all ears.
First, focus on sentence variety. Don't let your sentences all sound the same.
Right. Mix it up.
Exactly. And be mindful of your tone. Make sure it's appropriate for your audience and purpose.
So like knowing when to be formal and when to be informal.
Exactly. And each paragraph should start with a strong topic sentence that clearly tells the reader what it's about.
Good old topic sentences.
And finally, use linking words and phrases to connect your ideas smoothly. Words like consequently, nonetheless, in contrast.
Okay, I see.
And to really illustrate this, they give a before and after example paragraph.
Oh, I love those.
So the before version is pretty basic. Many people think social media is bad. It makes people feel sad. They compare themselves a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of choppy and repetitive.
Right. And then the after version is so much better. Social media can negatively impact mental health by encouraging constant comparison, which often leads to feelings of inadequacy and anxiety.
Wow, it's so much clearer and more concise.
And it uses more sophisticated vocabulary and grammar. That's the power of editing.
Okay, so now for the really fun part. Cultural fluency and idiomatic language.
Ah, yes, this is where things get tricky.
Even at the C1 level.
Especially at the C1 level. Because you're trying to sound like a native speaker. And that means understanding all those subtle cultural nuances.
Right, like idioms, jokes, sarcasm, proverbs.
Exactly. These can be really tough to grasp if you haven't been immersed in the culture.
Totally.
So the document gives a couple of examples of idioms with clear explanations.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
So the first one is bite the bullet.
Oh, I know that one. It means to do something unpleasant but necessary.
Right. And they give the example, I didn't want to go to the dentist, but I had to bite the bullet.
Makes sense. What's the other one?
The ball is in your court.
Which means?
It's your turn to make a decision or take action.
Got it.
And the example they give is, I've made my offer, the ball is in your court.
So understanding these idioms and knowing when to use them can really make you sound more natural.
Absolutely. It's like adding that extra layer of authenticity.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Conversation, vocabulary, fluency, grammar, reading, writing, even cultural fluency. It's a lot to digest.
It is. But the document does a great job of summarizing it all into a practical daily routine.
A routine, like a schedule.
Exactly. It's called the Daily C1 English Routine.
Tell me more.
So they recommend doing specific activities every day with suggested time allocations and even tool suggestions.
Okay, this sounds really helpful.
It is. So, for example, they suggest spending 15 minutes reading the news aloud from sources like the BBC or The Guardian.
That's a good one.
Then 10 minutes working on your vocabulary notebook, maybe using Quizlet or Notion.
I love those tools.
And then 20 minutes shadowing podcasts using Spotify or Audible.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that.
And then 15 minutes writing journal entries, maybe using Grammarly or Hemingway to help you edit.
And then, of course, 15 minutes actually speaking English, maybe using a language exchange app like HelloTalk or Tandem.
It's a great way to put all these skills into practice.
So it's like a little workout routine for your English.
Exactly. A little bit every day goes a long way.
Consistency is key, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so we've reached the end of our deep dive. And I think the takeaway here is that reaching C1 is just the beginning.
It's like you've climbed one mountain, but now there's a whole mountain range ahead of you.
Exactly. The journey now is about constantly refining your skills, pushing yourself further, paying attention to those tiny details that make a big difference.
Like we talked about, seeking out high-quality English input, challenging yourself with your output, really paying attention to how native speakers use the language.
It's in those nuances that you'll find the path to true mastery.
Totally. And the document ends with a really powerful quote. Fluency isn't about speaking faster, it's about speaking better.
It's so true.
It's about quality over quantity.
Exactly. So as you continue your English language journey, think about which of these daily habits you can incorporate into your life. Even just one small change can make a big difference over time.
It's about taking those small, consistent steps towards becoming the best possible version of yourself in English. So keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep having fun with it.
That's the most important part.
It is. All right, well, that's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. See you then.
All right, so today we're tackling a question that I think at some point we all kind of wrestle with, right? That whole entrepreneurship versus like the traditional job working for somebody else thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a big one. It's not just what you do for work. It's really about, what kind of life you want to have, how you think your money, how much freedom you want, all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a whole lifestyle choice almost, more than just a career choice.
Yeah.
It really is.
Totally. And for this deep dive, we've got a really cool source that we're going to dig into. It's a guide, actually.
Yeah.
For people learning advanced English.
Right.
But you know what the cool thing is? Even if you've been speaking English your whole life, this stuff is still super relevant.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah,
the insights in this guide are valuable for anyone at any stage of their career who's thinking about this question.
Right.
It's really well done.
Okay, so if we're going to break this whole thing down, where do we even start? What are we really comparing here?
Well, I think the first thing is just to get clear on what we mean by these two paths, like what is entrepreneurship, what is traditional employment.
Okay, yeah, definitions first.
Right, exactly. So this guide defines entrepreneurship as basically creating, developing, and running a business.
Okay.
And the goal is profit, of course.
Right.
But there's also this element of finding new opportunities in the market or seeing a need that nobody else is meeting and filling that gap.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really about problem solving and taking risks and building something from nothing.
Totally, yeah.
The guide gives this great example. As an entrepreneur, she transformed her passion for baking into a successful online business.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's taking something you love and turning it into a real thing.
Yeah, very cool.
So that's entrepreneurship. Now, on the flip side, we have traditional employment. And the guide describes this as working for a company.
Right, the 9 to 5.
Exactly. And you get a salary, you have a specific job title, and you have a set of responsibilities that your employer lays out for you.
Right, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, the example they give is he prefers traditional employment because of the stability and benefits it offers.
Yeah. That is a big draw for a lot of people, right? Like knowing what to expect.
For sure, that sense of security is a huge factor.
Yeah.
So you've got building your own thing versus working within an existing structure, essentially.
Right, okay, so we've got these two paths. We've got kind of the overall vibe of each one. But how do they actually stack up, like side by side?
Yeah, that's where this guide gets really interesting. It actually breaks down these two paths across a bunch of different factors, so you can really compare apples to apples.
Love that. All right, so hit me with it. What's the first comparison?
Well, the first one, and it's a big one, is risk.
Oh yeah, that's got to be different.
Yeah, with entrepreneurship, the risk is high, especially when you're first starting out.
You're putting it all on the line, right?
Exactly. Your time, your money, your energy, all for something that might not even work out.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is, but traditional employment, on the other hand, it tends to have lower risk.
Okay, so you're not risking your own capital in the same way.
No, not at all. But, job security can still be affected by the economy or how well the company's doing.
Yeah, true. It's not like it's completely risk-free.
No, but the nature of the risk is different.
Right.
So risk, high for entrepreneurs, low to moderate for employees.
Okay, got it. What's next?
Well, money is a big one, right? How much you earn.
Always top of mind for most people.
Totally. Yeah, and this is where the two paths really diverge.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, with entrepreneurship, your income potential is unlimited.
Right. The sky's the limit, theoretically.
Exactly. But there's also a lot of uncertainty, especially early on.
You might not see any profit for a while, right?
Exactly. It takes time to build a business, and even then, income can fluctuate.
So it's a gamble, but with a potential huge payoff.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Now with traditional employment, you've got a fixed salary.
So you know what's coming in every month.
Exactly. Predictable and stable.
Which can be a huge relief for some people, right? Just knowing you can pay your bills.
Totally, especially if you're risk averse.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, you're limited by that salary too, right?
Yeah, even with raises and promotions, there's a ceiling.
So it's security versus the possibility of really hitting it bad.
The trade-off, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so risk, money, what else?
Well, how about work hours? That's a big one too.
Oh yeah, that impacts your whole life.
For sure. And with entrepreneurship, you're often working long and irregular hours.
It's your baby, you got to nurture it.
Yeah, especially when you're getting started, you're putting in whatever it takes.
Nights, weekends, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. Now, traditional employment, it's usually more structured.
Your typical 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, more or less. Of course, there can be overtime and stuff, but generally it's more predictable.
Right, so more work-life balance, potentially.
Yeah, that can be a big plus for people.
For sure. Okay, so that kind of bleeds into stability too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Stability with entrepreneurship is totally tied to how well your business is doing.
Right, if the business tanks, you tank.
Exactly, it's very dynamic, whereas traditional employment tends to be more stable in the short term, at least.
You've got that steady paycheck, that safety net.
Right, but again, it's not completely immune to economic shifts or company changes.
Right, but it's a different kind of stability.
For sure.
Okay, so what about for the creatives out there? What about creative freedom?
Oh, that's a big one, and that's a major advantage of entrepreneurship.
You're the boss, you call the shots.
Exactly, you have control over your vision, how you do things, it's all you.
Very cool. Now, what about with a traditional job?
Well, it depends on the job, of course, but generally you're working within the company's structure.
So left freedom overall.
Yeah, you're usually following guidelines and brand standards and things like that.
Makes sense. Okay. How about responsibility?
Well, as an entrepreneur, you're responsible for everything.
The buck stops with you.
Exactly. The good and the bad, it's all on your shoulders.
Wow. That's a lot of pressure.
It is, but it's also empowering for a lot of people.
Yeah, I can see that now in a traditional job. How does responsibility work?
Well, it's usually more shared or delegated within a team.
You've got your specific area to focus on.
Exactly. You're accountable for certain things, but you're not carrying the weight of the entire company.
Right. Okay, and last one on this comparison list, career path.
Yeah, how you move forward. And this is another big difference. With entrepreneurship, your career path is completely self-directed.
You pave your own way.
Exactly. You decide what you want to achieve, when you want to pivot. It's all up to you.
Sounds very freeing.
It can be, but it also requires a lot of self-motivation and discipline.
I bet. Now, at a traditional job, how does that work?
Well, it's usually more structured. You know, you have opportunities for promotions. Maybe you move up the ladder within the company.
Kind of like a predefined path.
Yeah, you have a clearer idea of how you can progress.
Okay, so that's a lot to take in already.
It is, yeah.
But this guide does such a good job of laying it all out.
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Okay, so we talked about risk, income, work hours, stability, creative freedom, responsibility, and career path. The guide dives a little deeper into some of these, specifically mindset, ownership, and learning.
Yeah, these are really at the core of what makes each path unique.
Right, so what stood out to you about the mindset part?
Well, it's really about two different ways of thinking, you know? Entrepreneurs tend to be more visionary, they're big picture thinkers.
They see possibilities where others don't.
Exactly, and they're willing to take risks. They're not afraid of uncertainty.
They're comfortable with the unknown.
Yeah, they actually thrive on it, whereas employees often have a more task-oriented mindset.
They're focused on getting things done efficiently and effectively.
Right, they're team players, they like structure and predictability.
So it's like forging a new path versus navigating an existing one.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, what about ownership? That seems huge.
It's fundamental, yeah. With entrepreneurship, you own the business.
It's yours, your creation.
Exactly. You reap the rewards, but you also bear the responsibility.
Right, full ownership.
Now, employees, they're working for the business. They don't have that same ownership stake.
And that changes everything, doesn't it? Your motivation, your level of risk, how you think long term.
Absolutely. It's a whole different ballgame.
Okay. And how about learning? How do you learn and grow in each path?
Well, with entrepreneurship, it's all about constant self-directed learning.
You're learning on the fly, figuring things out as you go.
Exactly. There's always a new challenge, a new skill you need to develop.
So you have to be a self-starter, someone who loves to learn.
For sure. Now, in a traditional job, learning is often more structured.
You might have on-the-job training, mentorship programs, things like that.
Right. More formal development opportunities.
So it's like trial by fire versus guided learning.
That's a good analogy.
Okay. The guide also talks about networking and the workplace environment. How do those compare?
Well, with networking, entrepreneurs are really focused on building relationships outside the company.
Clients, investors, partners.
Exactly. It's all about making connections that can help your business grow.
Right. It's strategic networking.
Yeah. Now, employees, they also network, but it's often more within the organization.
Colleagues, supervisors, people in different departments.
Right. Building relationships that can help you advance within the company.
So it's like outward versus inward focused networking.
That's a good way to think about it.
And what about the actual workplace?
Well, entrepreneurs often have a lot of flexibility.
They can work from home, a coffee shop, wherever.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works best for them.
Which can be amazing for some people, right?
Totally. That freedom is a huge perk. Now, traditional employment, it's usually tied to a specific location.
The office, the factory, the store.
Right. You go where the work is.
So, flexibility versus stability, yet again.
Yeah, it's a recurring theme.
Okay, we're in the home stretch here. Just a couple more things from the guide. Motivation and exit strategies. Those seem like they would be pretty different too.
Oh yeah, they're key differences for sure.
So let's start with motivation. What drives people in each path?
Well, entrepreneurs are often driven by passion. You know, they have this idea they believe in, this vision they want to bring to life.
And they're willing to work hard to make it happen.
Exactly. They're also motivated by autonomy, that desire to be their own boss, call their own shots.
Right, it's very internally driven.
Yeah. Now, for employees, motivation can come from a variety of places.
Salary, benefits, job security.
Right. Those are all important factors. And also the opportunity to advance in their career.
Right. So it's more externally driven in a way.
Yeah. It's about rewards and recognition from the company.
Okay. And what about exit strategies? How do people plan to move on from each path?
Well, for entrepreneurs, it's often about building something they can eventually sell.
Like creating an asset they can cash out on.
Exactly. Or maybe they merge with another company or scale up to a point where they can step back from the day-to-day.
So it's about building something that has value beyond their own involvement.
Exactly. Now employees, their exit strategies are usually more traditional.
Retirement, resignation, maybe a promotion to a different role.
Right. It's about moving within the existing system or eventually leaving the workforce altogether.
Okay, so two very different mindsets when it comes to the long game.
For sure.
Now, to illustrate all this, the guide actually includes a little dialogue between two friends, Emma and Liam.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch.
It really brings the concepts to life.
Yeah, it shows how these choices play out in real people's lives.
So what were your takeaways from that conversation?
Well, Liam, he's the entrepreneur, and he's all about that creative freedom.
He wants to be his own boss, make his own rules.
Exactly. He felt stifled in traditional employment, so he took the plunge and started his own digital marketing agency.
He took that risk.
Yeah, he had a vision and he went for it.
Pretty inspiring. And what about Emma?
Well, she's happy in her traditional job. She likes the structure, the stability.
She likes having a manager, set hours, benefits, all that.
Right. She values those things. And she even says that entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
Yeah, that's important to remember. It's not the right path for everybody.
Absolutely. And what's funny is that Emma jokes about maybe switching teams someday.
Like maybe she'll be an entrepreneur down the road.
Yeah, it shows that these choices aren't always permanent. You know, people change, their priorities change.
Totally. It's not like you pick a path and you're stuck there forever.
Right. There's always room to evolve.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here.
We have, yeah.
And this guide, it really packs a punch, even though it's designed for English learners.
Yeah, the language focus is great, but the insights are universal.
Right. There's something in here for everyone.
Totally.
So speaking of language, there's a whole vocabulary section that I thought was really relevant to our discussion.
Oh, yeah. Some great words in there.
Can you highlight a few for our listeners?
Absolutely. So one that really jumped out at me was autonomy.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means self-governance or independence.
Being your own boss, essentially.
Exactly. And the example sentence is, entrepreneurs value autonomy over schedules.
Which makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
They want to be in control of their own time.
Yeah. That freedom is a major motivator.
Okay, what's another good one?
Well, how about venture?
Okay.
So a venture is a business project, but with risk involved.
Right, it's not a sure thing.
Exactly. And the example they give is her new venture focuses on green tech.
Very cool. So it captures that sense of newness and risk.
Yeah, you're venturing into uncharted territory, literally.
I like that. Okay, what else?
Well, scalability is a big one, especially for entrepreneurs.
Okay, what's that all about?
It means being able to grow without losing quality.
So your product or service can handle getting bigger.
Exactly. The example is his app had excellent scalability.
So he could grow his user base without the app crashing or getting buggy or something.
Right, which is essential if you want to reach a wider audience.
Totally, that's the dream for a lot of entrepreneurs, right?
It is, yeah. No, on the flip side, we have consistency.
Okay, so that's got to be more relevant to traditional employment, right?
It is, yeah. Consistency means being steady and reliable.
So like a steady paycheck, predictable work hours.
Exactly. The example is traditional jobs often offer more consistency.
Which could be very appealing, that sense of security.
For sure, especially if you have a family or other commitments.
Right. It makes planning your life a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got a couple more. What's next?
How about innovation?
Oh, yeah. That's got to be key for entrepreneurs.
It is, yeah. Innovation means creating new ideas.
Coming up with something new, something different.
Exactly. The example is innovation drives entrepreneurial success.
Right. You can't just do what everyone else is doing.
You got to stand out. You got to be creative.
For sure. Okay, last one.
Last one is job satisfaction.
Oh, okay. And that's how content you are with your work, right?
Exactly. How happy you are in your job.
And the example.
It says, many employees value job satisfaction more than pay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it highlights that money isn't always the most important thing.
People want to feel fulfilled in their work.
Exactly. They want to feel like they're making a difference.
And that's something you can find in both entrepreneurship and traditional employment, right?
Absolutely. It's just about finding the right fit for you.
Okay, great vocabulary. And the guide also throws in some business idioms and phrasal verbs.
Oh yeah, those are always fun.
They can be tricky to learn, but they make you sound like a native speaker.
They do, and they add a lot of color to your language.
Right. So what were some of the ones that stood out to you?
Well, take the plunge is a classic.
Meaning,
To take a risk and do something new, like Liam starting his own business.
you took the plunge.
Exactly, it's that leap of faith.
Okay, I like that one. What else?
How about think outside the box?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. What does it mean?
To think creatively, to come up with new and innovative ideas.
Essential for entrepreneurs, right?
Totally. The example is entrepreneurs must think outside the box to stay competitive.
If you're doing the same thing as everyone else, you're going to get lost in the crowd.
Exactly. You got to be different.
All right, what else?
Well, wear many hats is one that I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to.
What does that mean?
To have many different roles or responsibilities.
Like you're the CEO, the marketer, the accountant, all rolled into one.
Exactly. The example is, in a startup, you often wear many hats.
Makes sense. You're doing it all in the beginning.
You got to be resourceful.
For sure. Okay, any phrasal verbs?
Yeah, a couple of good ones. Set up means to start something.
Like she set up a new accounting firm.
Exactly. It's that initial step of establishing your business.
Okay, and the other one?
Scale up, which means to expand a business.
To make it bigger and better.
Exactly. The example is the company scaled up operations internationally.
Wow, so they went global.
They did, yeah. It's
Yeah.
that ambition to grow and reach more people.
Very cool. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but to kind of bring it all together, the guide gives us a nice little summary of the pros and cons of each path.
Yeah, it's a good way to see the big picture.
So let's start with entrepreneurship. What are the main advantages?
Well, you've got creative control. You're your own boss.
High income potential.
Yeah, you could really hit it big.
Flexible schedule. You work when you want.
Right, you're not tied to a 9 to 5.
And you get to innovate, bring your own ideas to life.
Yeah, that's a huge draw for a lot of people.
Okay, sounds pretty awesome, but what about the downsides?
Well, there's financial uncertainty. You might not make any money for a while.
Right, and you could even lose money.
Yeah, there's that risk.
Long hours, irregular hours, lots of stress.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
And you need a lot of different skills.
You gotta be a jack of all trades.
For sure. Okay, now what about traditional employment? What are the pros there?
Well, you've got that steady paycheck. You know what's coming in every month.
Benefits, health insurance, retirement plan.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Clear career path. You know how you can move up in the company.
And fewer responsibilities outside your specific role.
You can clock out at the end of the day and leave work behind.
Right, more work-life balance.
Okay, but what about the cons?
Well, you might have limited freedom, less creative control.
Your income potential is capped,
Yeah, you're limited by the salary range for your position.
and you might have to deal with office politics or a company culture that doesn't vibe with you.
Yeah, that can be a drag.
And there's always the risk of layoffs, right?
That's true. No job is completely secure.
So both paths have their pluses and minuses.
It's all about finding the right fit for your personality and your goals.
Exactly. And to help with that, the guide ends with some really thought-provoking questions.
Oh yeah, I love those.
They're great for anyone who's trying to figure out their career path.
Absolutely. So let's throw a few out to our listeners, shall we?
Let's do, okay, first one.
How do you define success?
That's a big one, right?
It is. Is it about money? Is it about freedom? Is it about making a difference?
Everyone has their own definition.
Exactly. And there's no right or wrong answer.
Okay, next question.
Which work style suits you better? Structured or flexible?
Do you thrive in a more traditional environment with clear rules and expectations? Or do you need more freedom and autonomy?
That's a key question to ask yourself.
And last but not least.
If money were no object, which lifestyle would you choose?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It really gets to the heart of what you truly value.
Would you be an entrepreneur building your own dream? Or would you be happy in a traditional job knowing you have that security and stability?
It's a tough choice, but it can reveal a lot about yourself.
Totally. And I think even if you're not actively thinking about switching careers right now, just understanding the nuances of both paths can be really valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
It can help you appreciate what you have, or maybe it'll spark a new idea.
You never know.
Exactly. So to wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
We talked about those two mindsets, the visionary risk taker and the task-oriented team player.
Right.
Which one resonates more with you?
Good question.
And how does that mindset shape not just your work life, but your life in general?
Food for thought.
It is. All right. That's our deep dive for today.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a pretty big topic, how modern relationships have really fundamentally changed in the 21st century. I mean, think about it, just Everything from how we meet someone to, what we expect, social media, changing gender roles, different cultural values. It feels like they've really shaken things up.
Oh, absolutely. It's a landscape that looks, well, radically different than it did even, say, 20 or 30 years ago.
Right.
So in this deep dive, we're going to try and dissect exactly what defines these modern connections. We'll look at the contrast with more traditional views.
Yeah, the old ways.
Exactly. And the huge influence of technology, of course, plus the new language, the sort of labels we use, the evolution in gender dynamics, and also this rise in relationships that cross cultures, cross borders.
Okay.
And the goal really is to pull out the key insights so you can really grasp these shifts and, importantly, the vocabulary that's kind of sprung up around them.
Okay, so let's start there. When we talk about a modern relationship, what are we actually talking about? What are the sort of defining characteristics? It feels like we know it when we see it, but what's underneath?
Yeah, good question. I think what's really striking is the emphasis on fluidity, flexibility.
Flexibility, okay.
So unlike older models, roles in a modern partnership aren't really fixed, based on gender or what society expects. They're much more likely to be negotiated, worked out between the individuals involved.
Right, makes sense.
And then there's the absolutely critical role of communication, open, honest communication, and particularly what we often call emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Being able to understand and respond to emotions. Yours and your partner's.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Understanding that emotional landscape, it's less about following some kind of pre-written script.
Yeah.
And more about really getting each other's needs, like you said, right down to that emotional level. And another crucial piece, I think, is the value placed on individual autonomy, within the partnership.
So not just merging into one person.
Exactly. It's about keeping your sense of self while still being, deeply connected. And finally, there's just this much wider acceptance now and visibility of diverse relationship types and structures. That's a huge shift from a time when things felt much more monolithic.
One size fits all, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that brings us neatly to contrasting with the past. When we think about traditional perspectives, what really stands out compared to today, because when you hear stories from grandparents' generations, it sounds like a different world.
It really does. I mean, traditionally, if you look at the wider context, marriage was often seen as, well, a social and economic necessity almost.
Right, practical.
Very practical. And gender roles were usually super clearly defined, husband as provider, wife as homemaker, that kind of thing.
The classic setup.
The classic setup. And divorce. Huge taboo, often really difficult legally, too. And even courtship, how people got together, followed pretty rigid rules, often very public, very community involved.
Like formal introductions, maybe needing family approval, that sort of thing. Specific steps you had to follow.
Exactly that. Now, contrast that with today. The main driver seems to have shifted much more towards emotional compatibility, personal fulfillment.
What feels right for the individuals.
Right. And we see just a much broader range of family structures, blended families, single parents by choice, couples just living together.
Cohabiting, yeah.
Cohabiting is huge. And delaying marriage or deciding not to marry at all, that's far more common and, pretty socially accepted now.
Doesn't raise eyebrows the way it used to.
Not really. And crucially, modern relationships are much more inclusive. Thinking about diverse sexual orientations, gender identities, that's a massive change.
It feels like even how we think about finding the one has changed. I remember growing up with this almost Disney idea of a soulmate. Your perfect match is out there, destined. Has that shifted?
That's a really sharp point. Yeah, the whole soulmate concept, it's definitely evolved.
How so?
It seems less about this mystical, preordained pairing.
Destiny finding you.
Right. And more about finding someone you have deep compatibility with, shared values maybe, a mutual commitment to actually build something together.
So it's more active.
Yeah.
Less passive waiting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a shift from waiting for destiny to show up to actively choosing and creating a partnership. It's work in a good way.
Okay, so let's bring technology into this. Because you can't talk about modern relationships without talking about online dating apps, all of that. It's had a huge impact, hasn't it? For better and maybe sometimes for worse.
Oh, undeniably. I mean, what's truly transformative is just how online platforms have broadened the sheer possibility of connection, exponentially.
Wow, pool.
It's much wider. They've basically dismantled geographical limits. So people with shared niche interests or specific values who might literally never have crossed paths otherwise.
Yeah.
Now they can find each other. It's created these like micro communities within the dating world that just couldn't exist before.
It's like this giant filterable network. But, okay, this digital world, it comes with its own language, its own phenomena. Let's unpack some key terms. What's the deal with swipe culture? We hear that a lot.
Right, swipe culture. It mostly comes from apps like Tinder, Bumble, you know the one.
Mm-hmm. Swipe left, swipe right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that practice of really quickly evaluating potential partners based on, honestly, very little information. A few photos, maybe a short bio.
Very fast judgments.
Super fast. Left swipe for no, right swipe for yes.
Right.
And look, one of the big questions it raises is about the impact on commitment, maybe.
Yeah.
Or depth of connection.
Yeah, like, are we getting conditioned to just make snap judgments and move on really fast if someone isn't instantly perfect based on something superficial?
That's the concern, isn't it? Are we losing the nuance, the patience maybe involved in really getting to know someone in that kind of rapid fire process?
Makes you wonder, okay, and then there's ghosting, which sounds unpleasant. What is that exactly?
Unfortunately, yeah, ghosting has become pretty common. It's basically when someone you've been dating, or maybe even someone you're in a more established connection with, just vanishes. Stops all communication abruptly. No explanation, no call, no text, nothing, just silence. Poof.
Wow. That sounds incredibly confusing. And hurtful, probably. Leaves you wondering what happened.
It can be really unsettling, yeah. Leaves the ghosted person feeling dismissed, confused, all sorts of things.
Okay, and then there's catfishing. That sounds even more deceptive.
It is. It's quite extreme, actually. Catfishing is when someone creates a completely fake online identity.
Totally fake.
Yeah, like using someone else's photos, making up a life story, a job, everything, to deceive someone online. Often it's for emotional manipulation, sometimes even financial gain. It's building an entire false persona.
Yikes. That's a pretty stark reminder that, while technology helps us connect, it also opens doors for some pretty nasty behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of highlights that point you mentioned from the sources. Just because connection is easier, it doesn't mean it's always quality or authentic.
Precisely. The sheer volume of choice online can sometimes create this sense of disposability, maybe.
Like everyone's replaceable.
Yeah, potentially. Individuals might feel less invested in nurturing one connection when there are seemingly endless other options just a swipe away. It changes the dynamics.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to how we even talk about relationships.
Yeah.
Feels like there's this whole new vocabulary emerging, new labels for different kinds of connections people have.
That's absolutely right. As norms shift and people explore relationships beyond the traditional married, not married binary, we need new words. Language has to adapt to capture these nuances.
Right.
Take, for instance, the term situationship. Seems increasingly common.
Situationship. Okay, I've definitely heard that one.
Yeah.
What's the working definition there? Is there one?
Well, it's often described as this kind of ambiguous middle ground.
Yeah.
It's usually more involved than just being friends or purely casual sex, maybe. But it hasn't quite reached the stage of a clearly defined, committed partnership, with the labels and explicit expectations.
So there might be romantic feelings, intimacy, but no boyfriend-girlfriend talk.
Exactly. Or maybe just not yet. It's this undefined space, which, look, it can work for some people, maybe exploring a connection without pressure.
Sure.
Or maybe there's just a reluctance to commit fully, but it can also be a major source of anxiety, right? Or even heartbreak if the two people involved secretly have very different ideas about where it's going.
Yeah, I can see that. Unspoken expectations. Okay, what about open relationships?
So open relationship, as the name suggests, implies, openness beyond just the two people in the core relationship, meaning it's a relationship where both partners have explicitly agreed that it's okay to have other sensual or sometimes romantic relationships.
Okay, so the key is the agreement, the consent.
Absolutely crucial. Mutual consent and usually really clearly defined boundaries. And those boundaries can look very different from couple to couple. It's a conscious choice to step outside traditional monogamy.
Right, and then there's polyamory. How does that differ from an open relationship? I understand it's broader.
Yes, generally polyamory goes a bit further. It encompasses the idea and the practice of having multiple loving, intimate relationships simultaneously.
Multiple loving relationships.
Yes, with the full knowledge and consent of everyone involved. It's not solely about sexual freedom, though that can be part of it. It's more about the potential for multiple deep emotional connections, multiple committed relationships existing at the same time.
Wow. Okay. It's really fascinating how language is stretching to fit all these different ways people connect now.
Isn't it?
It suggests maybe a greater willingness to question the old rules and to kind of design relationships that actually fit individual needs and desires better.
I think that's a fair assessment, yeah. A move towards more intentional relationship design.
Now, another area that's seen massive change is gender roles within relationships.
Oh, definitely. We're seeing a really significant shift away from those, rigid, historically defined gender roles.
Well, as we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Towards more egalitarian dynamics. Traditional models were often quite patriarchal, right? Characterized by male dominance, clear power imbalances sometimes. Men often held the primary authority in decision-making in societal roles.
Right, the distinct man's role and woman's role in the house and outside it, pretty much dictated by gender.
Yes. But in modern relationships, particularly those striving to be egalitarian.
Egalitarian meaning?
Equal.
Based on equality, yeah. The emphasis is on equality among all partners. So roles, responsibilities. They're increasingly negotiated based on individual skills or preferences or just who has time.
Not automatically assigned by gender.
Right. Not you do this because you're the man or you do that because you're the woman. You see couples sharing chores, finances, big life decisions much more equitably. So it's really moving towards a true partnership based on shared effort and mutual respect.
That's the ideal, yes. And it reflects a pretty fundamental shift, I think. Moving away from a hierarchy based on gender towards a structure based on mutual respect for what each person brings to the table, regardless of those old expectations.
And this must link back to that emotional intelligence thing we mentioned earlier too, right?
Absolutely.
Being able to actually see and value your partner's perspective, their needs, their skills, separate from any old ideas about gender roles.
Precisely. It's about seeing each other as whole individuals, recognizing unique skills, unique perspectives, rather than just sticking to outdated scripts about how men and women should act in a relationship.
Okay, now, our world feels smaller, more connected all the time. Globalization. That must be influencing relationships too. Let's talk about cross-cultural relationships. They seem more common now.
Yeah, this is a really interesting aspect of modern love. With travel being easier, relatively speaking, and online communication, it's just way more common for people to form serious romantic relationships across national borders.
Right, meeting people from different countries, different backgrounds.
Exactly. And while these relationships can be incredibly enriching, broaden your horizons immensely, they also come with their own unique set of challenges.
Okay, what kind of challenges are we talking about?
Well, the most obvious one sometimes is language.
Yeah.
Even if both partners speak a common language like English, subtle nuances, cultural context, jokes.
Yeah.
They can get lost in translation. Misunderstandings can happen easily.
Sure, words meaning slightly different things.
Exactly. And beyond just language, you can have deeper cultural differences, different values, different norms, different expectations around family, socializing, even just daily routines, things that need careful navigation.
And then the practical stuff.
Oh yeah, the logistics can be huge, navigating different visa systems, immigration processes, managing long distance for potentially long periods, deciding where you're actually going to build a life together. These are major hurdles.
Wow, that sounds like it takes a lot of understanding.
Yeah.
And compromise. How do couples manage all that?
Well, it often requires a really high degree of what experts call intercultural communication competence.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically the skill of communicating effectively and respectfully with someone from a different cultural background, being aware of their communication style, their cultural viewpoints, being adaptable.
Being sensitive to the differences.
Yes. And you also have the potential for cultural clash.
Clash. Like conflict.
Yeah, where fundamental differences in values or norms actually lead to conflict that needs resolving. And sometimes one partner might go through a process of assimilation.
Assimilation, like blending in.
Sort of.
Wow.
Adapting to the customs, the way of life of their partner's culture, which can be a really big adjustment personally and psychologically.
It really highlights how much our own cultural background shapes how we see intimacy, family, everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's deeply ingrained.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here and introduced quite a few newish terms. Maybe we should just quickly recap some of that key vocabulary related to modern relationships. We hit some already, but maybe a few others.
Sure, good idea. Cohabitation is a big one we mentioned.
Living together, unmarried.
Exactly. Increasingly common either before marriage or just as an alternative to it. Then there's emotional intimacy.
That deep connection feeling.
Yeah, that sense of closeness, connection, built on mutual trust, openness, and vulnerability.
And that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Being willing to be open, emotionally honest.
Yeah.
That seems key to building that intimacy, right?
Absolutely fundamental. You can't really have deep intimacy without vulnerability.
Okay. Now, on the flip side, I sometimes hear the term codependent thrown around.
Yeah.
How does that fit in? Or rather, how is it different?
Right, codependency. That describes a pattern that's generally seen as unhealthy. It's where one person becomes excessively emotionally reliant on their partner.
Too reliant.
Yeah, often prioritizing the partner's needs and feelings way above their own, sometimes to their own detriment. It's often described as a pattern of needing to be needed. It blurs healthy boundaries, can really hinder individual growth.
Okay, so definitely not the goal. Doesn't sound balanced or sustainable.
But generally not, no.
And finally, let's just circle back quickly to compatibility. We touched on it with soulmates. What's the modern take on compatibility?
In this context, compatibility is really about the degree to which two people can, well, coexist harmoniously, build a fulfilling life together.
So shared values.
Shared enough core values, yeah. Similar enough life goals, maybe interests, enough common ground to navigate the inevitable challenges and support each other's growth. It's not about being clones of each other,
Right.
but about being able to understand, respect the differences, and find constructive ways to move forward together, that kind of fit.
This has been, wow, a really thorough look at how things have changed. And, it was helpful that the source material had those little real-life conversation snippets.
Ah, yes, the example.
Yeah, like Emily and Liam talking about dating apps, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And Sarah and Mark figuring out more equal roles. And Nadia and Jake on their cross-cultural relationship challenges and joys. It helped make these ideas feel more real.
Exactly. Those little glimpses show how these trends, this vocabulary actually plays out in everyday life, how people are really navigating modern relationships.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway, the core message about relationships today?
I think the biggest thing is just how dynamic they are. Fluid, constantly changing.
Not static.
Definitely not static. They're continually being shaped and reshaped by everything we've talked about. Societal shifts, cultural norms evolving, and especially the huge influence of technology. It's an ongoing evolution.
And understanding these changes and the language around them,
Yeah.
it's not just like an academic thing, is it? It has real world value.
Not at all. I think it really enhances our ability to understand the incredibly diverse ways people connect now. It fosters empathy, maybe, builds cultural intelligence, and it also gives us insights into, the fundamental human needs we're all trying to meet through relationships, and maybe how to communicate those needs better in this new landscape.
This has been super illuminating. Thanks. And it brings us to this really interesting final thought from our source material. This quote: relationships are less about finding the right person and more about becoming the right person.
Ah, yes, that one.
It really flicks the script, doesn't it, from the old searching for the one idea.
It absolutely does. It shifts the whole focus away from this kind of passive search for some ideal, maybe non-existent partner,
Right.
and onto the active process of our own personal growth, our self-awareness within the context of our relationships. It puts the onus on us, in a way.
So for everyone listening, as you think about everything we've explored today, the flexibility, the communication, the tech impact, the new labels, cross-cultural stuff, really mull over that idea. What does it mean for you to become the right person in this modern relationship world? Given everything we know now, what qualities, what understanding do you want to cultivate to build meaningful, fulfilling connections in this dynamic landscape? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a decision that really defines not just a career path, but an entire lifestyle. It's that fundamental choice, isn't it? Between carving out your own way as an entrepreneur or navigating a more defined route in traditional employment.
It really is a foundational choice. And it's not just about, what you do 9 to 5. It digs much deeper, doesn't it? Into your personal tolerance for risk, how you define freedom, how much stability you actually need.
Right.
And the insights we're looking at today, they come from this really comprehensive guide comparing the two paths. And honestly, they are incredibly sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lay out the trade-offs so clearly. Essential reading, I'd say, for anyone thinking about a change or even just trying to understand their current situation better.
Absolutely. So our mission today is pretty clear. We want to go beyond just the bullet points. We're going to break down these two paths using the key comparison factors from the guide.
Side
Side by side, to give you a much clearer picture of, well, where your own priorities might need to align, whichever way you're leaning.
Okay, let's get into it. We have to start with the basics, right? Nail down the definitions first.
Makes sense.
So entrepreneurship, what are we really talking about? At its core, it's about creation. It's that constant drive to build something, develop it, run a business, all with the goal of making a profit.
It's pure problem solving, isn't it?
Right.
Spotting a need or maybe improving something that already exists, and then having the vision, the grit, really, to build a whole structure around that idea. The source materials had that great example, someone taking their passion for baking.
Right, the baking example.
And turning it into a successful online business.
Right.
It's taking that internal spark, that creative thing, and kind of forcing it into a viable money-making reality.
Exactly. You're the architect, but you're also the builder, the project manager, everything. Now, contrast that with traditional employment. This is where you're working for an existing company. Often that familiar 9-to-5 setup.
Right.
You get a fixed salary, a specific job title, and a set of responsibilities given to you and, well, limited by an employer.
And the key word there feels like predefined, you know? The guide emphasizes that the main driver here is often stability, maybe security. Predictability, yes. You're joining a machine that's already running, like maybe choosing a traditional role specifically for the health benefits or that established career ladder.
So we've got creating your own structure versus operating within one that already exists. And that fundamental difference.
Well, that brings us right to the core comparison factors. This is where the paths really, really diverge.
Let's dive into that. And maybe start with the big one, risk. We all know the surface level difference, but what does the source material say is the real nature of the risk in each path? Okay, risk. With entrepreneurship, it's not just high, it's intensely personal. You're risking your own time, which is finite, right? Your own money, your savings maybe, and your emotional energy. There's just immense uncertainty, especially at the start, those early years where you're essentially just burning through cash and time, trying to get a foothold.
But the risk in traditional employment, it isn't zero, is it? We sometimes frame it as low just because you're not risking your house, perhaps, but you are risking something else, aren't you? Like time, professional momentum.
That's such a critical distinction. The source points this out really well. While traditional employment carries, low to moderate financial risk, you're not putting up your own capital, you definitely face exposure to big external forces.
Like the economy tanking.
Exactly. Economic downturns, company restructures, or even just the risk of stagnation if your company isn't keeping up, isn't innovating. So the entrepreneur risks almost everything for a potentially massive gain.
While the employee risks their stability against, well, the market or decisions made way above their pay grade.
Precisely.
Okay, that distinction flows naturally into the next factor. Income. Entrepreneurs, we hear, have unlimited potential. Sky's the limit, theoretically.
Theoretically, yes.
But that's paired with huge uncertainty and massive fluctuation, right?
Yeah.
You might have an amazing month, 6 figures even, or you might be paying your staff out of your personal savings account.
That volatility, that's the price you pay for the potential upside. Traditional employment, on the other hand, offers that fixed salary. Predictable, stable, super valuable for planning your life, getting a mortgage, all that. But it usually comes with a pretty well-defined ceiling.
Right.
Your raises are often tied to company budgets, annual performance reviews. It's not directly linked to your individual impact on the market in the same way.
It's the difference between aiming for, say, a 3% cost of living raise versus aiming for exponential revenue growth. The psychological pressure must be immense.
Oh, absolutely.
Eating that next big sale just to keep the lights on versus knowing exactly what hits your bank account on the 15th and the 30th. Monumental difference.
Monumental is the right word. And that pressure, that difference in financial reality, it leads directly to our next factor, work hours.
Ah, yes, the myth of the flexible entrepreneur schedule.
Exactly. We often romanticize that freedom, setting your own hours, but the guide makes a pretty sobering point here. What did it say about those quote-unquote flexible hours?
It was brutally honest, actually. If you're the entrepreneur, you're often working incredibly long and wildly irregular hours. The source literally describes the business as your baby.
Needs constant feeding.
Constantly. Requires constant nurturing. There's basically no off switch because every moment the business isn't moving forward, you feel it personally. It feels like failure.
And that's the flip side of that creative freedom we talked about. You technically own your time, but in reality, your time is completely owned by the business, perpetually.
Right.
Traditional employment, conversely, usually offers that more structured, predictable, maybe 9-to-5 framework. While that limits spontaneity, it does give you the potential for a much clearer boundary between work and life.
You can actually switch off your email on Friday night and not feel guilty.
Hopefully, yes.
That structure is key. Okay, let's talk about creative freedom then. For the entrepreneur, this is a huge plus, right? You're the boss. You control the vision, the strategy, how things get done.
Totally. If you want to pivot the entire company tomorrow, you just decide to do it. No committee meetings needed.
No need to convince layers of management or stick to rigid brand guidelines from 5 years ago.
Precisely. But that total freedom connects immediately and maybe uncomfortably to responsibility.
The other side of the coin.
Exactly. If you have total creative freedom, you are also responsible for everything, every success, every failure. The buck absolutely stops with you.
Which could be empowering, definitely, but also incredibly high pressure. Crushing, maybe?
It can be. Whereas in a traditional role, responsibility is typically shared. It's delegated, specialized within a team structure.
You're accountable for your specific area, marketing, finance, engineering, whatever it is, but you're not usually carrying the weight of the entire company's legal compliance, payroll, and finding the next round of funding all at the same time.
Well said. Which naturally brings us to career path. Traditional employment is usually structured. There's often a predefined ladder you can see.
Junior to senior to manager to director, that kind of thing.
Right. Opportunities for promotions, moving up. They're relatively clear, even if getting there can sometimes feel slow.
But with entrepreneurship, there's no ladder. It's completely self-directed. You're literally carving your own path through the jungle. That requires absolute self-motivation, discipline. If you don't grow yourself, the business stagnates or dies. And there's no HR department giving you a performance improvement plan.
You are the HR department, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so that lays out the practical framework really well. But now let's shift focus a bit. Let's move from those practical factors to the deeper stuff, the psychological, the operational differences that really define whether you'll succeed or be happy in either path, starting with mindset.
Yes, mindset. This is fundamental.
You used an analogy earlier, forging a completely new path in the wilderness versus navigating an existing well-paved road.
That analogy captures it perfectly, I think. Entrepreneurs have to be visionary, big picture thinkers. They need to be comfortable, maybe even thrive in the unknown.
Because they're drawing the map as they go.
Exactly. They have to be okay with taking calculated risks because they are defining that map.
Employees, on the other hand, are often more task-oriented, right? They specialize in efficiency, in execution, focusing deeply on defined objectives.
Correct. They often value structure and predictability because their role, their strength, is to expertly navigate that existing road, not necessarily draw a new one.
That makes sense. And connected closely to this is ownership.
Huge difference here. In entrepreneurship, you have full ownership. The business, its outcomes, its destiny, it's yours.
So you reap all the rewards, financial and emotional pride.
But you also bear the entire weight of failure. It's all on you.
Whereas in traditional employment, you're working for the business. You might own your job, your specific role, maybe even have some stock options.
Right, but you lack that ultimate ownership stake in the entity itself. Your loyalty and performance are rewarded, hopefully, but your direct control over the whole ship is limited.
And that dynamic must impact learning and growth profoundly.
Oh, absolutely. For the entrepreneur, learning is constant. It has to be. It's self-directed. It's often urgent. It's figuring things out on the fly, as the saying goes.
Because the business needs you to be good at sales 1 minute, finance the next, maybe HR after lunch.
Often simultaneously. You absolutely must be a relentless self-starter. There's no training department scheduling your next course.
The source used that great analogy, trial by fire versus guided learning.
Perfect. Trial by fire for the entrepreneur. Traditional employment, conversely, often offers much more structured learning, formal mentorship programs maybe, clear career training paths, on-the-job training where you actually have experts right there to ask.
So you might learn deep expertise in one specific area rather than maybe shallower expertise across 50 different things.
Exactly. Depth versus breadth, in a way. Now, let's also discuss the environmental context a bit. Like, how does your daily focus actually change depending on which path you're on? Let's look at networking focus.
Good one. The entrepreneur seems fundamentally outward focused. Their survival literally depends on building connections, right? With clients, investors, suppliers, partners.
They live outside the walls of their own company, essentially. Their network is their business ecosystem.
Whereas the employee is typically more inward focused, their networking is often geared towards internal politics, internal advancement.
Yeah, colleagues, supervisors, navigating the different departments, stakeholders within the organization. Their career growth often relies on successfully playing the internal game.
And what about the ultimate drive? Motivation. What actually gets you out of bed in the morning for each path?
For the entrepreneur, the source suggests motivation is deeply internal. It's driven by passion, a core vision, and often that powerful desire for autonomy.
Autonomy. That's a key vocabulary word here, isn't it? Self-governance, independence.
Exactly. The freedom to make your own decisions, set your own course, that's a huge driver.
And for the employee, the motivation tends to be more externally driven.
Often, yes. Things like the salary, the benefits package, health insurance, retirement plans, job security, and those clear milestones of career advancement. Promotion, bigger title.
So motivated more by the stability and the defined path, perhaps, rather than purely by the desire to build something brand new from scratch.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, to really make these concepts stick, we should probably integrate some of the specific language the source highlights. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're strategic concepts used in these worlds. Take scalability.
Scalability. Critical concept, especially for entrepreneurs. It's the ability for the business to grow, often rapidly, without falling apart or losing quality. How efficiently can it handle more?
And you have to ask, how often does a typical employee need to think about the scalability of the entire business? Probably not that often.
Right. An employee is usually focused on optimizing their specific task, maybe this week's problem set. The entrepreneur must be thinking about how the solution works when the company is 10 times bigger or 100 times bigger.
That's the strategic difference baked into that one word. And that drive for growth, that's the venture itself, right? Which the source defines simply as any business project that involves risk.
Precisely. And this constant need for growth, for adapting, it leads directly to innovation, creating new, original ideas, better processes.
Innovation really drives entrepreneurial success, doesn't it? Yeah. If you're not innovating, especially in tech, the market can leave your venture behind very quickly.
Absolutely. Standing still is often falling behind.
And then on the employment side, a key value is often consistency.
Yes. Being steady, reliable, predictable. Traditional jobs and the systems within them value and reward consistency. Think standardized processes, reliable paychecks.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, let's touch on those business idioms mentioned in the source.
Right.
Knowing these phrases is kind of essential for sounding natural, for sounding like an insider in these conversations.
Definitely. They pack a lot of meaning into a short phrase.
Like, take the plunge. It just perfectly captures that leap of faith, doesn't it? To commit, take a big risk, start something new like a business. Sounds much more evocative than just start a business.
It does, or think outside the box. We hear it all the time, but it really points to that need for creative, unconventional thinking, especially crucial for entrepreneurs trying to find an edge or solve a problem differently.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a cliche, but the core idea is still vital for innovation. And what about make many hats?
Oh, that one's so relatable for anyone who's been in a startup. It's not just about multitasking. It really describes that reality, that maybe context switching fatigue, where you might genuinely be the CEO, the head of sales, and the IT support person all within the same hour.
Yeah, handling wildly different types of tasks and responsibilities constantly.
So this whole comparison, it really shows that both paths have clear pros, but also undeniable cons. There's no single right answer.
Definitely not. If you're leaning towards entrepreneurship, the big pros are things like total creative control, that potentially high income, and complete autonomy.
But the cons are significant. Financial uncertainty is huge, the pressure can be immense, and you've got those long, often unpredictable work hours.
And if you lean towards traditional employment, the pros are that steady, predictable paycheck, often good benefits, and usually a clearer career path laid out.
But the trade-offs are real too. Usually less creative freedom, working within someone else's vision, and generally a hard cap on your ultimate income potential.
The source material illustrates this so well with that little snippet of conversation it includes between Emma, who values stability.
Right, Emma and her traditional job.
And Liam, the entrepreneur who's all about freedom. What that dialogue really captures, I think, is that These choices aren't necessarily permanent. They're often based on where you are in life, your evolving priorities.
Exactly. Someone might choose Emma's path, that reliable structure, maybe when they're starting a family and need that security, that predictability.
Makes sense.
But maybe later in life, perhaps once they're more financially established, they might decide to take the plunge into their own venture, prioritizing the kind of autonomy that Liam represents. It really is about what you need at your current stage.
So understanding the nuances of both paths, the good and the bad of each, is incredibly valuable, even if you're perfectly happy where you are right now.
Absolutely. It helps you articulate what success actually looks like for you and helps you identify maybe the non-negotiables in your own professional life.
Which leads us perfectly to the final thought-provoking questions the source material leaves us with. For you, the listener, to really consider.
Right.
First one.
How do you define success? Is it about stability? Is it purely income? Is it making an impact? Or is it about freedom and autonomy? What does success mean to you personally?
That's a big one. And the second question, which work style suits you better, structured or flexible? Really think about the environments where you actually thrive. Where do you feel most energized, most effective? Is it within clear guidelines or when you have a blank canvas?
Good questions to ponder. So throughout this deep dive, we've contrasted, the visionary risk taker forging their own path and the task-oriented team player who expertly navigates an existing one.
So here's the final thought for you to take away. How does your dominant mindset, that natural preference you tend to fall into, how does that shape not just your work life, but maybe your life in general?
Something to think about.
Definitely something to ponder as you look at your next career move, or perhaps just gain a fresh appreciation for the structure or the freedom you currently have. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.